Hey mama, hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Super excited to have you here. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you've seen me before, then welcome back. And don't forget, so long you like the content, you want to know more about me, definitely subscribe. Today what we're going to be talking about is my honest take on parenting, modern parenting, and I'm gonna be probably making some comparisons with my mom and how she parented me and my dad, and like how I can see it's different today and what influences our responsibilities today as parents, etc. I think it's been somewhat of a hot topic recently where a lot of people are weighing in and they're saying that, it's so much more difficult to be a parent now, etc., etc. Like, I've literally had people say to me, like, why did you go and make a second child? Like, it's so difficult to be a parent now. Like, why would you do it? My easiest answer and my most simplest answer for that is simply that I really believe in letting God take charge, and I have another child because this is what he wanted for me. This is what he wanted for our son. And so we had him, right? But when it comes to parenting, I cannot lie. I really do believe that it is definitely super challenging. It's challenging because we have a lot more available now that our parents, like if you're a millennial like me, my mom didn't have a lot of the things available then that we have now. For example, when I was a kid, she didn't have to work so hard to kind of like, control television and the content that's on the television and so forth. Now it's something as a parent that you really need to like hone in on, like you really need to have, I would argue, at this point in time, as a modern parent, you really need to have more of a hands-on approach on how you bring up your kids and what ideologies and what morals and so on they're taught, because otherwise your kids can definitely go completely off the deep end, because we have so many various ideologies available today that if you don't pay attention, your child can be taught something completely like super crazy. Like even in schools, like you have to pay attention what they're being taught in schools and stuff like that. I've seen some crazy stuff on curriculums and so on. So it is definitely a big challenge, now we've got like channels for children that are playing like all the time, like you have, and then they have like tons of different programs, and a lot of the programs have these new ideologies within the content. So it may seem like it's fun children's content, but then maybe they're teaching your child something super crazy in the content. And because we live in a world now where people are trying to normalize a lot of things that were considered crazy even when I was a child as a millennial, and I feel like these are the things that are giving us challenges now as parents. Like for my son, when I first got him, I was a lot younger, and I actually thought that giving him the television was a really good thing, because again, at the time I was like in my late 20s, and that was what everybody was saying. They'll learn to speak if they look at a television. They'll learn a lot. There's going to be lots of information and all these different things. And in the end, that literally bit me in the ass. Like, that blew up in my face. My son had tons of challenges in terms of language development and some social skills and so on. And actually, I think there was a point when I saw like this study somewhere, and I think it's right here in France or somewhere else, but they were basically saying that there is some sort of a correlation between how much kids look at television today and ADHD diagnosis and autism and all these different things, and I am inclined to believe that study because I had tons of challenges with my child, And this is something I feel like a lot of parents really need to be hands on with. Like, you've got tons of programs you can just basically like chuck your child in front of the television, and it appears as though it is easier, it appears as though you're going to get some time for yourself. But once your child has language development problems, once your child cannot entertain his or herself because he or she is like his imaginative skills are stymied because he didn't get a chance to develop it because your child was always in front of the television, for example, then it starts to pose a problem for you and the child in the long run. So I feel like that is a definitely a big challenge now that I don't think my mom had to deal with when I was a child. And I think it's a challenge in part because of how much more available screens are today. You got your phone, your tablet, your television, blah, blah, blah. Whereas when I was a child, we had like, I think those little televisions with little knobs, you know. So that is in part the issue. And also I think it's just because of the information, the misinformation that's being spread out there, where a lot of people are saying, it's good, it's good, it's good, and if you don't know better, you just follow what you hear, and then that blows up in your face like it did in my face. So that's definitely a big challenge. And another challenge I'd say is, I would argue that I feel like there's this significant moral decline in society today, where things that were crazy back in the day, for some people, they actually think that it's normal, you know. So then you have this additional challenge where and where people may impart knowledge on your kids that they honestly to themselves believe is good and it's right and it's true and it's just, but it might be sorely wrong. But because of this moral seepage that we have in society, where the morality of what it means to be human being is just being significantly challenged, a lot of people are lost, you know. And so, like, when I feel like when I was a child, my mom, she can just send me to school, and she can trust that I'm gonna learn stuff, normal, sensible stuff that's conducive to human flourishing and development. Now I feel like if you're someone who's got your head screwed on properly and your morality in check, then this is something you also need to worry about. Like, you got to pay attention. Like, for example, recently I saw a sex ed book for children in school age kids, and I couldn't believe what I was looking at. This was not sex education. This was like pornography. You know what I mean? I did sex ed when I was in school, and that was a lot more biological back then. You know, it was very scientific. Now it's pornography. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my God. And then they started teaching at a lot younger age. In a lot of countries now, they try to teach sexual education at like 5 and 6 and stuff like that. To me, at this age, like, just leave the kids alone. They don't need to learn that. And then I feel like when the material gets too explicit, then I feel like it will help to diminish the value that comes with sexual experiences, and that again will negatively impact my child's sexual health. You know, because the more of something you have, the less intriguing, the less valuable, the less amazing it becomes. And if you're going to be married, for example, when you grow up and you want to stay married for the rest of your life, then one of the things that has to be valuable is sex. But if the value of it is diminished because you've been so exposed at such a young age that you've become kind of immune to it, then yeah, you can't stay married. I'm sorry. It's not going to be fun anymore, you know? So that is also another challenge that we have to deal with, you know? So there's also this issue of and I wouldn't say I believe secularism is a bad thing. I don't believe it is. But there is this idea too as well, where in a lot of the schools they try to like remove the idea of God out of society. They try to say like, they try to tell us, for example, that we came from like monkeys and stuff like that. And they did this when I was a kid too in school, right? But now I find you meet a lot of younger kids. Like I meet some Gen Zs and Gen Alphas. That's what they call them. Yeah, the younger folks, and they are talking such snot, yo. And then you try to like say, no, that's not it. And then they're like, no, I know, you know what I mean? And for me, it becomes like really, really difficult to grow and to understand if you don't know the right things, but you believe that you do. You know, it creates like this weird situation where you think you're smart but you're not, you know. And I feel like that is also like a really, really big challenge, you know. I feel like now in schools, for example, a lot of education is more indoctrination than it is education, you know, because it's all about, in a lot of cases, it's all about like teaching various ideologies and getting it into the minds of the kids when they're like young and impressionable and stuff like that, so they can go a specific way when they get to a certain age. I guess in short, it's propaganda. And I don't mean it's propaganda in a negative way, because I know a lot of people attach a negative connotation to the word propaganda. And actually I recently had this discussion with somebody, you know, but it's not propaganda of itself. For me, it's not negative, because it's just a tool that can be used for good or bad, you know. And in this case, as it relates to like in schools and education and ideologies and stuff, you can share good ideologies, you can share ideologies that are conducive to human flourishing, but a lot of people are not doing that. A lot of schools are not doing that in a lot of countries, you know. They share ideologies that just make people dumb, basically. You know, stuff that don't make no sense. So I feel like that's a big challenge. Definitely the school system is definitely a challenge in a lot of countries. I feel like now as parents, we definitely are facing a uphill battle for sure, because then you have technology and social media and stuff like that, you know. Like I remember like when I was in my 20s, I was so dumb, yo, that I had a television in my son's room. Oh my god, when I look back at this, I was like, yeah, Erica, come on, you were dumb, like stop it. But I'm glad that my eyes were opened and I got rid of that. And now I limit my son's screen time to 1 hour a day. He gets them at half-hour intervals, and I am very aware of what he looks at on television. So I'm really happy about that. And with my younger child, who's now 15 months old, he hasn't looked at any television so far. I think that he's too young, which is where I went sorely wrong with my older son as well, because with my older son, I had him looking at television from the time he was a few months old. I know, tragic, but that was what it was for me when I didn't know better, you know. Additionally, I feel like now a lot of kids are, because we have like the phones and the screens and stuff, a lot of kids are not getting outside a lot. They're not exploring a whole lot, learning from their environment and stuff like that. A lot of kids are not doing that, because a lot of people are living in cities and apartments, and it's just a bit more of a challenge, because I lived in the city at one point too, and my husband and I got further out into the country for that. Not to say we're not like anti-city or anything like that. We live in a village where we can easily access the city when we want to. It's not too much of a drive. I have the train right next to my home and stuff like that. But it's important for me to have my kids explore outside and experience nature and stuff like that. So that for me is a big part that I feel like a lot of parents need to try and honing on, try to get their kids to explore and experience nature and life in a more hands-on way, where it kind of like where it starts to impact the senses, you know. So that for me is big. And also when it comes to like phones and stuff, come September, my son is gonna go to a private school, so he's gonna be going to school in the city every day. And somebody was saying to me, perhaps you should get him a phone, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna take him and bring him back, and take him and bring him back, and that's it. But somebody was asking me, like, from what age do you think is a good age to give kids phones, for example? And I said, for me, I feel like it should be like, we can't deny that we live in a world where technology is important. We're not trying to be Luddites here. We still need to live in the world. We need to understand the way the world works. That's the only way you're going to be successful in it. So, of course, I wouldn't say no phones, for sure, for your kids, but not too young. Because when I give my son his first phone, my idea is to give him the most basic phone ever. Like, you know, like those phones that we had when they first came out, like those little Nokias with those little buttons. That's what I intend to give my son, because I want him to develop a hang over the device before I just like throw it all in on him. So initially he's just gonna use it to make calls, and that's it. And from that, gradually I think he'll step up and get a better phone. But I'm looking to do this in maybe from 13 or 14 or something like that, you know. Definitely not now. My son is going to be 8 soon. He's a far way off from that, you know. And I don't want to, because then also this poses another challenge for parents as well. Like when you give them the phones, then they go on social media, and then there's this other possibility of getting into potential danger online when strangers will try to message them, and you know, and all of this. So this is also like an additional challenge. So then it's another thing to. Okay, so I was speaking about the challenges of like technology and phones and everything else, and I honestly thought that it was recorded, but now I'm looking back and I see it wasn't. So I can't really remember what I was saying, because I didn't really take notes. I was speaking off the top of my head. But what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to try to finish this video, bring it to a close, and thank you for listening to me if you got this far. And once again, asking you to support a gal, support me, s'il vous plaît, and subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment, all the amazing stuff. Share it, of course, definitely, that's a big one. And yeah, I am gonna try to upload once per week, so normally every Fridays. If I don't, it will be on Mondays, but I'm sticking to the rhythm here, so it's gonna be every Fridays. Yeah, we're gonna stick with that. And yeah. Oh, and in the video, what you see me doing at the start is that I'm making my super amazing fries. I'm actually thinking of getting a slicer. I don't know why I didn't think of this before, because my kids love my homemade fries, where I mix like the carrots and the potatoes together. So they love that. So that's what you see me doing at the start. And secondly, I was doing some writing exercises with my son, just practicing so he can get his handwriting a bit better. And then lastly, I was doing my nails, actually. I'm new to the gel nail stuff, but as you see the name of my channel, it's the Still Me Mom, right? So I'm still trying to be cute over here. So I do my nails. I was doing press-ons for ages, and recently I started testing the waters with gel application. So that is this is like I would say my second or third time doing it. It's not lasting as long as it does at the salon. Like I'm getting a week and a half out of it, but I'm hoping to get better and that it lasts longer. But I was basically just repairing one nail that was broken. And yeah, you gotta stay looking nice, you know what I mean? Not because we're moms, it means that we don't look nice. So we have to keep that up. But anyways, thanks for watching. Have a great day and bye bye.